Hello, Crafty Crandall here. Today, I just want to talk about my artist pet peeves. You know those things that every artist goes through, or at least most artists go through, that are frustrating, annoying, just a little bit of a pet peeve, if you will. Fun, lighthearted video for you today. I hope that you enjoy it. Without any further ado, let's roll into the artist pet peeves, shall we? My first artist pet peeve is difficult to open paint tubes. I can't stand having paint tubes that are difficult to open. It's so frustrating, and I have actively started buying paints that have easier to open tubes because there is nothing worse than having to grab a tool such as one of these little drawer liners to open your paint tubes. It's so frustrating, and it is definitely one of my biggest pet peeves as far as being an artist. Similarly, I hate it with jars as well, like when a jelly jar is impossible to open, that bugs me as well. So it's kind of translatable into life, but I consider it to be an artist pet peeve because I experience it most frequently with my paints. And the worst offender for this, I have to say, is my Arteza gouache. Those tubes are impossible to open. So be warned, if you're gonna buy the Arteza gouache, those tubes do not open easily. So you gotta keep them clean, otherwise it's impossible to open. Artist pet peeve number 2 is your tape peeling up part of your painting when you're done. Anytime that I use masking tape, I am so aware that this is a possibility. I try to peel it up super slow. I try to use specific tape based on the type of paper that I'm using. And I have tried so many different types of tape. So many. And I have actually run across one that I do recommend in as far as both not allowing paint to seep under it and also not peeling up your paper as badly. Now, it depends, of course, on your paper quality, but the MT tape brand tape I have found to be the best. It's a little more pricey than, your regular old Scotch tape, but I personally feel it is so worth it because it lowers that pet peeve down to a minimum at least with regard to certain types of paper. But definitely one of my biggest pet peeves is having finished a painting that I am so proud of and so excited for, and then I go to rip up the tape from the paper and it's ruined. It rips up part of my painting. There's no way to get it back. You can try to glue it if you still have the visible part available to you, but 9 times out of 10 you can totally tell that it was doctored up, and it is so frustrating. Artist pet peeve number 3, sketchbooks that don't lie flat. It drives me nuts having to prop a sketchbook open with either my arm or with a book or with something to keep it open while I'm working on the other side of the sketchbook. I have so many sketchbooks. If you haven't seen them all, I recently did a whole sketchbook collection video, which I will leave linked up above for you. But I have 1 or 2 that don't lie flat, and it drives me nuts. Specifically, my Strathmore mixed media sketchbooks, those ones are probably the worst offenders for this, though I have used others in the past that are also just as bad. So if you are like me and you don't like having sketchbooks that don't lie flat, I would not recommend those. But regardless, it's just one of those things that probably doesn't affect everyone. Everyone probably doesn't have this pet peeve, but I know it affects me, and it's something that I look for actively when I buy a sketchbook, is one that's going to lie flat relatively simply. Now, if I've got to use clips or something, okay, I can get past that because I'm probably using clips anyway to keep the paper flat when I'm doing paintings, but the sketchbook lying flat is another thing. Artist pet peeve number 4 is not so much a materialistic one as all of the other ones have been, but this is the pressure to post your art daily, or the pressure applied onto artists by social media to be active and to continually produce new work. This is something that I've kind of referenced previously in a couple of other videos, but something that really bothers me about art in today's society, technologically advanced society. When I was a kid, we didn't have the internet. there was no sharing your artwork with the masses. I mean, the closest that we could come was probably DeviantArt, but I didn't even have a computer or the internet when I was a kid, so I was not posting my work on DeviantArt. Regardless, though, I guess my point is that pressure that's applied by social media to post daily, keep up with the algorithm, keep, driving toward more followers, more likes, people seeing your artwork. It can be so demoralizing when you're trying to make new pieces and you're just struggling and you're not coming up with work that you're proud of just to keep up with an algorithm. And it's something that is a huge pet peeve of mine, and I actively try to stay away from my social media at times so that I can make art that I like, that I'm proud of, that I'm happy with, that has nothing to do with how many likes, clicks, people see it. It is just one of those things that I really make a point of, and I try to make sure that I develop that time to make pieces that I don't share on the internet, that I don't have out there for the world to see, because to be honest, that's not what art is for me. Art is a hobby. Art is something that I do to have fun. It's something that I do to escape from the rigors of my 9-to-5 job. It's something to escape from the rest of the world when things are just difficult. And so art as a hobby is something that I enjoy sharing on social media, but sometimes that pressure just can't be there. It just can't, because then art becomes a chore, and then it doesn't fulfill that part in my life that I need it to, which is just to relax, to be creative, and to have fun. So if you're feeling that way, I urge you to just step back from social media and just do art for you. Number 5 artist pet peeve is kind of along a similar line and isn't something that's going to just magically go away, and that is having ideas in your head for artwork that you don't yet have the skills to put into practice. Like something that you have this idea and you really want to create an art piece that's structured around this idea, but for whatever reason you don't have the skills to make it look as good as it does in your head. This happens all the time. This is something that I have happen almost every time I approach an art piece. And this is where planning an art piece can go a long way into overcoming this pet peeve. So I have one specific example of a piece that I painted at least 4 different times to try to get right. And finally, on that 4th go around, I made something that was at least close to what I had in my head. And that was such a fulfilling experience, going through the iterations, developing the skills that it took to put that idea onto paper. And so if you're experiencing this pet peeve, if you constantly have ideas where you are so excited to try to execute them, you go ahead, you put it into practice, you draw, you paint, whatever medium you're using to create it, and it doesn't come out the way that it was in your head, I urge you to put it aside, come back to it later after you've, practiced a little more or had a different idea to approach it, and go back and paint it again, because it's amazing how quickly your skills develop into making that piece better and making that piece what you thought it would be in your head. And if you keep approaching that over and over again over a long span of time, eventually you're going to get there, and it'll be so fulfilling. So I urge you not to let this pet peeve get in your way of progress and creation. But it's something that I've personally experienced a lot, and I would definitely consider it to be a pet peeve, because it's something that you'll always, as you progress, you'll always want to push further. You'll always want to create better things than you did before, and so it's not going to go away. But there are ways that you can kind of work around it and plan for your pieces in advance. Do little sketches, do thumbnails, do color studies, do composition work to try to maximize the chances that you'll create what's in your head. And then if you don't, you can kind of take an iterative approach and go at it again. So that is my 5th artist pet peeve, and that is my list for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, because it's something that I love watching. I love hearing what other people are struggling with in the art community, and kind of seeing how they're pushing past all of this adversity and all of these things, and just little tips and tricks to make all of our artistic lives a little bit better. If you like this video, please give me a like. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you're interested. I post new videos on Tuesdays and occasionally on Fridays for art and book related topics. Thank you guys again for watching. I do appreciate your time, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!